Hey, good day to you, everyone. Got a fun topic today, which is marijuana with rental properties. And as state after state continues to legalize marijuana in one shape or another, there's some pretty significant impacts to landlords and property managers that need to be considered. As of the date of this video being recorded, there's 38 states that have legalized marijuana for medicinal reasons, and then of those, 21 of them are currently legal for all forms of marijuana, including recreational use. So, every state's going to be a little different, so you're going to want to check your state laws. I can only really speak to the laws here in Colorado, but when they passed it in Colorado, they specifically put language into the bill that stated that landlords have the right to restrict marijuana use on their property, and that would include, even if it's a rental property, because a lot of times, owners give up certain rights to their property when they enter into a lease agreement. But the way the law was structured for marijuana usage is that property owners retain that right to make that restriction if they so choose. And some landlords choose not to. They may be fine with it, and maybe you're one of them. And I just want to give you some things to think about on why you might want to reconsider that. There are some pretty serious implications for it. The first one being that marijuana is still illegal from a federal law perspective. The federal government is currently choosing not to enforce that law, and they probably will continue that stance into the future, and probably at some point they'll decriminalize it as well. Until then, though, it's illegal federally. So you're going to write a lease agreement and you're going to give a tenant the right to do something that's illegal. It's just not a good practice. The administrations could change every 4 years at the federal government, and the next administration might take a different stance and choose to start enforcing those laws. So they're probably not going to have any issues with minor operations, but if you were to rent a residential property to a large grow type of operation, there's a potential that the federal government may come in and seize that property. So it's definitely not a good position for you to be putting your landlords in. You should be advising them of that risk if they're allowing marijuana in the property. Secondly is going to be if you have, especially if you have properties with a basement, those are the ones that the large grow operations target. They're probably not even going to live in the property. They just want to utilize the entire basement space to grow marijuana. And when they do that, they run in significant irrigation to water those plants. So anytime you've got a lot of moisture in a dark environment, you're going to have mold. So once that tenant vacates and you're trying to rent that property again to a normal residential occupant, you're going to have mold issues that now you have to mitigate. Additionally, those lines can bust. You could have flooded basements. They usually will bring in a lot of electrical or rework the electrical so that they can plug in all their grow lamps. So you have some fire risk there. So there's a lot of health and safety concerns. Even if, taking aside the federal government issue, there's just the safety concerns that as property managers we need to be aware of, we need to be protecting against. So that's something just to worry about. Now, obviously, if you have a tenant that just wants to grow a couple plants, they're probably not going to be running large irrigation systems. But even then, the use of marijuana on the property, even if it's outside, poses problems for your property management company from an image perspective. I know, at least in our lease agreement, we allow tenants to smoke cigarettes, but they have to do it outside the property. So you could say, well, just smoke your marijuana, but just take it outside. What's the difference? And the difference is, cigarettes stink, but man, marijuana really stinks. And you'll have a lot of complaints from the neighbors, especially if the neighbors have kids and they want their kids to be able to go out in the backyard and play like kids do, but they can't because your tenant is always smoking up on the back porch, and now it's preventing these owners from enjoying their property. Not violating any laws, but it's making you look bad. You can be certain they're going to write some bad reviews about you. At best. At worst, they're going to file some complaints, which are going to be frivolous, but nonetheless, it's something you've got to deal with. So it's really all around. Just keep marijuana out of your properties. You should have a drug and crime-free addendum to your lease or a paragraph in your lease. Check with your attorney on it, and make sure it specifically calls out that marijuana use is restricted. Make sure that the tenants know that even though it's legal in your state, it's not authorized per your lease, and this is assuming your state allows you to restrict it. We further call it out in our rental application, because you can put whatever you want in a lease agreement. We all know tenants don't read the lease half the time, or they forget what is in it. So in the application, there's a series of yes/no questions that we ask them, and one of them is, are they aware that they're not allowed to possess, grow, or consume marijuana in any shape or form inside or outside the property? And they have to confirm that they're aware of that. That way there's no excuse when they say that we didn't know. We can say, well, you answered here that saying that you did know, and you signed a lease agreement that said that you were agreeing to these terms. So you have a solid footing to come at those restrictions. So that's my suggestion for marijuana. Definitely excited to hear what you have to say about it. And of course, the landscape's always changing. So, positions on it might change from a landlord-tenant perspective. But for right now, I would highly suggest that you're restricted. Hey, give this video a thumbs up if you would. Subscribe. Helps me out with the algorithms. Let me know if there's any other content that you want to see. Take care. Have a good one.